you know it's not the same. White women bleaching their hair or straightening their hair is not the same as what we do. And I'm going to go there. So I know the sister's going to pretend they don't understand what I'm saying. This woman talked about how she had a head full of natural hair. Most black women do not have long hair. They do not have long natural hair. Black hair does not grow. It does not grow at the same speed as other races. If you are one of the unicorns where you can cut your hair one day and in 2 months or 3 months you got inches, you know you're a rare breed. When we cut our hair, that's it. It's going to take a little while for it to grow. Damage or undamaged. Drinking water or not drinking water.
So, natural hair doesn't grow. Is this a myth or a fact? Obvious answer will be it's a myth, because we all know natural hair does grow. But why is it that a lot of black women have short 4C natural hair, and regardless of the amount of products they're using or the styles they're putting on, their hair doesn't seem to grow as much? Anyway, we're gonna unpack a lot of things in this video about natural 4C hair, and without further ado, let's get into it. Hola. Hello and welcome back to the channel, friends. This is Tinuola. If you're just seeing this hot chocolate for the first time, this is yet another natural hair video, and I can't wait to touch on some myths that we have around natural 4C hair in this video. So some of you might have seen this video on TikTok, or you might have seen people reacting to this video, and I want to touch base on, first of all, the fact that this woman thinks natural hair doesn't grow. As a black woman, the hair industry in itself is a huge industry because people have been trying to grow their natural hair for a while now, especially since the natural hair movement, the natural hair community grew. The black hair care industry as of today is around $2.5 billion. This is a lot of money, and it's projected by 2026, that's in 2 years from now, to be around $6.9 billion. Every single year, black women spend about $1.7 billion on hair care products. And this is just a tiny fraction of the hair care industry in general, because remember, we do have other hair types aside black women's hair. The hair care industry in general is around 16 billion. This is a huge industry compared to skincare products, especially like bleaching products. So it's very obvious that black women do want to style and grow their hair. They also really value their hair in general. But the myth that a lot of people believe is that our hair doesn't grow, because regardless of all the money we are spending and the products and the time that goes into caring for our natural hair, specifically 4C natural hair, it doesn't seem to be growing that much. I have a 4C hair, so I do understand, this pain point of trying to grow your hair and it not looking like it's growing. Well, the thing is, for our 4C hair, our hair does grow slower than other hair types, and there are other factors to why our hair doesn't appear as long as other hair types. As you know, on the spectrum of hair types and based on the textures of our hair, 4C hair is the tightest coils, is the most coily hair type, and I would say the least favorite hair type for majority of people, because 4C hair is perceived to, one, it doesn't grow as long, it doesn't look as beautiful to some people as well, and it's a little bit more difficult to style. These are very common reasons why people don't like 4C hair that much, but I'll still touch base on the other reasons. Let's first talk about the hair growth. So our hair doesn't grow as fast as other hair types. For example, straight hair, like the Asian hair, they do grow at a faster rate, so that in itself plays a huge role. So we know our hair grows at a slower rate.
That is true, and it's based on research and data that shows that black hair on average grows about 0.2 inches a month. For Caucasian people, it's about a half an inch a month.
The other factor is genetics. Honestly, some people just have hairs more than others. Yes, some people have very full, thick hair, and some other people's genetics just have very thin, scanty hair. And regardless of the amount of hair growth oil you put on it or all of that, yes, there'll be improvement, but it might not mirror someone else with genetic predisposition to having thick, full, natural hair. So there's also that. So genetics also play a huge role. The other thing is how we style and maintain our hair. The misconception around natural hair is that it's very thick, it can withstand a lot of things, but that's not true. Our hair is the most fragile hair type because it's curly. So due to its structure, it tends to break faster. So if you're doing a lot of manipulation to your hair, you're styling your hair frequently with a lot of hair products that are not really designed for your hair type or in favor of your hair texture, you're going to experience a lot of breakage. Your hair might not grow as you want it to grow. Also, if you're constantly covering up your hair, well, what you consider as protective hairstyles, for example, lace wigs, which might not really be protecting your hair, especially your edges, and you literally abandon your hair. You're not caring for your hair, you're not shampooing your hair, you're not conditioning your hair, you literally just abandon your hair, covering it up with other extensions and other hair, then obviously your hair might not grow as much as you want it to grow. I know people also believe that if you do protective hairstyles, your hair will grow, but that is you being intentional about using those protective hairstyles to actually grow your hair and doing protective hairstyles in healthy ways to grow your hair. That's not the same as someone that literally just abandons their hair under a wig. And of course, dryness is one of the other reasons why our hair doesn't grow as long as we want it to grow, because our hair tends to get dry easily and faster. So when you have a very dry hair and you're trying to manipulate it, obviously it tends to break faster. When you have a lot of breakage in your hair, it's not going to grow as long as you want it to. And remember, our hair is curly, so it might not appear as long, but when you stretch it out, you will see how long it is. So these are the reasons why 4C hair in general doesn't appear to be as long as other hair types. Also, our hair doesn't really grow like downwards, it grows horizontally, right? If you look at 4C hair in its natural thick state, it usually grows horizontally. It's just afro. It's round and it's big. It's a crown of glory, like a lot of us like to call it. But that's that. Now let's get into this idea that Black women don't like their hair. Black women hate their hair, or Black women dislike their hair. Well, I would say she went a little bit far in generalizing, how we hate our hair as a community. Obviously, not everyone hates their hair, but we can agree that a lot of Black women don't really like their hair, or they just don't really care for it because they prefer other hair textures, or they prefer, just protective hairstyles. It's okay for people to come out and be honest about how they feel regarding, their hair. But when you begin to generalize it like all Black women don't like their hair, it becomes a problem, because that is not actually true. A lot of Black women like their hair. And when I say Black women, we have different textures amongst Black women. Obviously, we know we have type 4 hair, we have type 3 hair. So Black women don't have exactly the same hair texture. There's a spectrum to our hair textures, but I'm really focused on 4C hair in this video. And I'm pretty sure 4C hair is what she's really talking about in our video, because majority of Black African women have 4C hair. I really appreciate her honesty, and I think we need a lot more of that. But when you begin to generalize that, a group of people, Black women, all Black women don't like their hair, it's a little bit problematic, because we know that's not true. Some Black women genuinely love their hair. I love 4C hair. I have 4C hair. Would I say it's my favorite hair texture? Not exactly, and I'm gonna touch on that soon. But some reasons why a lot of Black women dislike their hair. One, it's difficult to maintain, at least compared to other hair texture. It's a little bit more difficult to maintain. It's not completely problematic. 4C hair is not problematic. Remove that out of, your mind. It's not problematic. It's not hard. It's just a little bit more difficult to maintain, because it requires a little more time when it comes to styling 4C hair, especially when you are looking to styling your 4C hair in other hairstyles that are different from its natural form, which is the afro form. If you're just going to style your hair as afro, it's not hard. Afro is very easy to style because that's your natural 4C thick curly hair style, right? But when you begin to try to straighten your hair, or you want to, turn it into like a perm rod. You want to try different hair looks. You want to slick it down. Obviously, it's going to take you more time because you have to detangle your hair. You have to brush it out. You have to straighten it. It's a lot more work. As Black women, we are used to styling different hairstyles. It's part of our identity. We love to change our hair. We've always changed our hairstyles and our looks, even right from when we were kids. So when you try to style your natural hair in all these different forms, it gets a little bit more stressful, and that is valid. I mean, it's okay for us to accept that. Some people don't find it stressful. Some people find it very easy to style their hair, maybe because their hair is softer. I don't know. I genuinely find it a little bit more stressful to actually style my 4C natural hair, especially short 4C natural hair. Another reason why we don't really like our hair is because it's underrepresented. Let's just be honest. I've talked about this before in one of my videos. I talked about natural hair being underrepresented in media spaces, in the luxury space, even at our workplaces. The thing is, when we begin to see a lot of people style their afro hair, it's all about like what we see, what we consume. We mirror a lot of things based upon what we see, what we consume. Our society has not really promoted natural 4C hair in the best light. So the more you see people with natural 4C hair looking beautiful, styling it to events and occasions, you tend to love your hair. You tend to want to style it as well. We are all influenceable. Let's just be honest about that fact. It's all about influence, and I do want to see, us style our natural hair a little bit more in, all these spaces. So the other reason why some Black women dislike their natural hair is because they don't feel pretty in it. Yes, it's a thing. Like, it's okay to admit that some other hair textures make you feel more beautiful than your natural 4C hair texture. It doesn't mean you hate your natural 4C hair. Like I said before, we are used to styling different hair textures. Why? It's something that is part of us. It's almost part of our identity, and it's not a bad thing. It's almost like a superpower. Like, we can literally rock any hairstyle. We can literally rock any hair texture. So that is fun. It feels good. It looks beautiful to change your look, and that is part of us. It's something we've already registered in ourselves. But when you notice a lot of Black women styling other hair textures and they never want to style 4C hair texture, or they don't like 4C hair texture, that you can say, it is a sign that they dislike their 4C hair texture. Because yes, a lot of women will style different textures and not want to style 4C hair texture or style afro hair because they don't really look at it as pretty. I don't think so. I think beauty is in the eye of the beholder. And even on this channel, I've seen some people in some of my other hair videos say they don't think natural 4C hair is not beautiful, because it is beautiful. Natural 4C hair afro is beautiful. Is it going to be your preferred hairstyle? Maybe not. And there's nothing wrong with that, because we all have preferences. But feeling ashamed about it, or also agreeing with other people that your hair isn't beautiful, it's not pretty, it doesn't make you feel pretty, I think it's not you putting your hair in the best light. And you don't have to exactly be an advocate for 4C hair, because you do whatever you like. It's your hair, it's you, it's your body. You can't really tell people what to do with their hair, and at the end of the day, it's just hair. But I think it's very important for us to not register this image in our minds that 4C hair is not pretty. Different hairstyles, different hair textures gives you different vibe. Let's just be honest. If you go with a short bob, you get a different vibe from if you are going with a coily or a wavy hairstyle. It's usually different vibe. So it's part of our superpower to get to pick and choose what kind of vibe, what kind of hairstyle we are choosing to go with today or tomorrow, which is a good thing. Let's not complicate this thing. It's okay. But what I want to emphasize is that don't feel like 4C hair or afro hair is something that isn't pretty. Don't be ashamed of your afro 4C hair to the point where you can't style your hair, to the point where even when you can easily get an extension to style your hair, you don't want to use a 4C hair extension. You don't want to use a 4B hair extension. Anything that has to do with type 4 hair, you can't use that extension. That's just my opinion anyway.
Some women have the confidence, they have the beauty to be able to pull off a short natural. I do not. And I think most Black women do not. They do not. And for a lot of, I know me, I feel prettier with wigs or straight hair. I feel prettier. I feel more feminine with hair, wearing hair that mimics another race of people.
So obviously, when it comes to people saying that they have low self-esteem, this is very, very personal. You can't just group a huge number of people and say they all have low self-esteem or they all have hate towards their hair, blah, blah, blah. Short 4C natural hair isn't the easiest hair to style. So when she says, oh, she doesn't feel pretty in her short 4C hair, she has low self-esteem, blah, 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 I get that part. It's not the easiest to style because it's one thing to have a low cut and you know you have a low cut. It's another thing to have a long, thick, natural 4C hair. It's beautiful. It's easy to style. You love your hair. You can style it in different ways. But when you have a short 4C hair that is like, you can't really bend or twist it into the styles you want, it's a little bit more difficult to style short 4C hair. And that is why you can always use protective hairstyles, in this process while you're still growing your hair. It doesn't mean you can't show your hair. And that's why it's okay to leave your hair in its afro form. Just style it once in a while in its afro form. You can also use other protective hairstyles. I love to go with braids. I love to go with coily wigs or coily extensions. Those are good alternatives. To me, I don't think there's any most beautiful hair texture. Every hair texture is beautiful. It depends on what kind of look, once again, you're going for that day or in that period of time. When it comes to my preference, I like full long hair. So anything that has length, anything that has weight, I just want big hair. I like big hair. That's my preference. So when I style my short 4C hair, I don't exactly feel like I'm in my most beautiful era. And it's okay to be honest about these things. It's really, really okay. But it doesn't also mean that I have a low self-esteem. I think we shouldn't base our entire self-esteem based off of just the hair coming out of our scalp. That's why I don't exactly agree to what she said about having low self-esteem. But we do know that, a lot of the reasons why, people don't even like 4C hair in the first place has to do with, these other isms and factors, which I think I've touched enough on in some of my other videos.
And I know that's a shame, and I know that's some internalized self-hate, but look how some men, black men, they like a woman natural in theory, but if you put her side by side with a woman with a wig, they would choose a woman with the wig. I think a lot of black women are on that type of tip.
So to reiterate my points around 4C hair and the myth about our hair not growing. One, our hair does grow. It just doesn't grow as fast as other hair types. Also because of its structure, its coily texture, it's longer than it actually looks. And obviously there are other factors that can be damaging our hair growth. The next is that not everyone hates their 4C hair. Our hair is beautiful, and even though it requires a little bit more effort to style, it is not problematic. 3, it's okay to be honest about how you feel with your 4C natural hair, and it's okay to style other hair textures. It doesn't mean you have low self-esteem. It doesn't mean you hate your hair, but please don't talk down on 4C natural hair. I think there's enough of that already. Let's stop talking down on 4C natural hair. And if you want to love your hair, the more you style your hair, the more you love it. And if you want to get used to your hair, get used to styling your hair, you want to like your natural 4C hair more, then style it more. The more you conceal it and you cover it up with extensions, the harder it is to actually like your hair, because you wouldn't really learn how to maintain and style it. That's number 1. And number 2, you wouldn't get used to what you look like with your hair. So what I'm trying to say here is it's okay to use extensions. It's okay to braid your hair and do different hairstyles. But once in a while, at least once a year, you want to definitely style your natural 4C hair. Get used to that look. Enjoy styling your natural 4C hair without feeling like you are broke or you're sick or you're in a very bad place. No, we shouldn't always project our 4C hair in that light. No. The more representation we get around 4C hair in media spaces, in luxury space, in your workspace, the more you're going to love styling your natural 4C hair. And last but not the least, subscribe to this channel. Yes, seriously guys, if you enjoyed watching this video so far, give it a thumbs up and comment below what you think about natural hair growth, what you think about 4C natural hair, some of the things we discussed in this video. Please, I would love to hear your thoughts. Please subscribe, and thank you so much for watching. I will see you guys in this next video, but until then, keep shining. Bye.